So opportunity, how, when it shows up, it also reinforces that it is never too late to innovate. Welcome back to Leadership Highway with Coach McCurdy, the fast track podcast to help you 10x your impact, break barriers, and get out of your own damn way. I get excited by people. People are cool, especially those who are willing to go off-roading and try something new with their lives. So I was reading an article in the Harvard Business Review about the average age of entrepreneurs. In particular, the average age of entrepreneurs who have achieved extreme success. I mean, I want extreme success. I don't know about you, but I'm not doing it to have average success. So as someone with more than a little time under her belt, this was super interesting to me. And I just want to share with you a couple of the things that I read. So, for example, did you know that the probability of extreme startup success rises with age until 50? Until 50. So all you skinny jean, flannel shirt wearing, hoodie wearing entrepreneurs at 29, you got time, man, because you've got it till 50. And did you also know that the average age of people who founded high growth startups is 45? So it made me think about opportunity. Honestly, it made me feel like, yeah, man, you still got time. So opportunity, how, when it shows up, it also reinforces that it is never too late to innovate. Wow, that rhymes. It's never too late to innovate, to put ourselves out there, start something new, something that could end up changing everything. Our guest today is one of those innovators. Today, I am sharing the studio with die-hard entrepreneur, innovator, and dear, dear friend, Jane Curth. I asked Jane to join me today to talk about innovation, taking risks, and quite frankly, what it's like to be an older innovator in a world that glamorizes the skinny jeans, the hoodies, the lattes. So, for a little more context on Jane, Jane is a retired college professor in kinesiology and health. She did that for 20 years. She's also a certified personal trainer. She presents at conferences. She's got her thing. But here's where it gets interesting. During her tenure at the college, she started developing online courses. Then she realized that the fitness industry was seriously lacking affordable continuing ed. So what did she do? She left her cushy, safe job. She founded a technology company, FitFix Now, and brought the fitness industry into the age of high-quality online virtual education. But hey, why stop there? So in addition to being the CEO of FitFix Now, Jane's also a consultant. She's a model for Silver Sneakers. She's a former member of the over age 50 hip hop Atlanta dance group, the Silver Classics crew. She also loves sharing her knowledge with the next generation. She's actively involved in the Mentor Project. And by the way, she's been a regular at Atlanta Tech Village. Everybody around here knows Jane. So with that, I really want to welcome Jane.
Erica, thank you so much. You are such a dear friend, and I admire you. You are one of my heroes, so I'm I'm honored. I'm honored to be here with you today.
Awesome, Jane. Me too. I love it. It's always fun with Jane. I think there was a movie, something like that. All right, so Jane, here's the idea of Leadership Highway. When we look back at the road we've been on, we can almost always see those moments when we decided to act, when something changed that took us in a direction far different than we originally planned. So on the Leadership Highway podcast, we highlight that journey of leadership. We highlight the things that drove you to success. We break down those little critical moments where that one big idea changed everything about how you see the world and how you lead others. So as you think about that description, what was that moment for you?
Wow. Erica, I've had several of those moments. It was
You'll see hot double. You can triple dip if we need to. Just bust it tight. All right.
And not to be too detailed, but early in my career, I was a ballet dancer, growing up. And in graduate.
Of course you were, Jane, because what else didn't you do? Right?
Well, and I loved it. And I decided to open my own studio, and I did.
Wow.
And it was very successful. I had it for 14 years, but once all my kids...
So wait, you had a studio for 14 years, you taught for 20 years, and you still weren't one?
Well, this was, I taught, but I had my studio before I taught at the college. So the studio was pre-college.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but I'd already finished my graduate work. And so I thought, I love dance so much. I kind of had an easy opportunity. And I thought, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to open this business. And I think I had courage from my mother, who I'm a baby boomer. In the 1960s, she built houses as a general contractor.
Wow. So apples and trees, you came from a family that wasn't afraid to take a risk.
Yes. So I, stepped out in courage. I wanted, by the time my kids got into school, the youngest one got into school, I would go to work when they came home. So as a mom, because that was so important to me, I thought, well, it's time to sell. And so I did. I sold that business and was hired by the college as an adjunct professor. Was adjunct for many years, then left and taught at Emory University for a while because I'd always wanted to teach at a small private school, which Emory's not that small, but I was at the Oxford College campus.
Right. So for those of you who don't know Emory is a fine, absolutely nationally, internationally recognized, prestigious university. So Jane, I just want to make sure we're laying the foundation here that not only did you have a studio for 14 years, which in and of itself, you could have stopped and said, that's enough. But then you went on and decided you'd be a professor, not just anyone, but just at a fine, globally recognized institution. But that wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't. And I loved that, but I had taught adjunct at, then it was Georgia Perimeter College, and I missed the non-traditional student. I missed the ones over 25. I missed the single mom just wanting to get an education. So I went back and was very happy. And there, my boss said to me, they are training us on online education. This is around 1999. And she said, you need to do this. It's going to be the wave of the future. So I did. I did all the training. I was a peer reviewer for courses at other institutions. And the last 5 years that I was there, I taught totally online. Developed courses that I got a state nomination for.
And this is before COVID. For those of you who are listening, we're all used to online now. That's the wave. It's not even the wave of the future. That's the here, today, the now. But we're not talking about 2020.
No, we're talking like I started teaching totally online probably 2009. Yeah.
Wow.
So
So some of our listeners were like not even in high school yet.
That's right.
Right? Crazy.
And so I felt like a real pioneer in that area. And one of then fast forward into my desire to create FitFix Now was I had been certified as a personal trainer in the 90s when it was pen and paper. And then all of a sudden, I'd let it lapse because I wasn't doing any training. I was working at the college. I really didn't have the time to keep up with my continuing ed because it was expensive conferences or print material in the mail. I let it lapse. And then years later, I decided I wanted to get it approved through the college senate to be an personal training, to be an approved course for students to get college credit for it, but also be able to have a pretty good part-time income salary once they're certified. They could make better than working fast food. And so I got it.
Well, I mean, fast food is great, but it's not a career path that everybody wants to take, right?
So I, I pursued it. It got approved. And then I thought, okay, I should not. This was my own thing. I should not teach this course if I'm not currently certified. So I went through the pain point of taking the exam again, which has a lot of science, anatomy, physiology. It has some nutrition. And so, long story short, I knew that was a big pain point for a lot of people. And in retirement, one thing I really wanted to do was to help as many people as possible. And I thought, what better way to do that? You train the trainers, and their reach is exponential.
So Jane, I'm laughing because you said, so in retirement, is that really retirement? Because I don't know about you, but retirement to me feels like a beach and a cocktail and maybe someone rubbing my feet and the waves lapping and, a tiki bar. So this is not retirement.
No, but a friend of mine calls it refirement. That I'm in the refirement zone. And I love that term because I don't want to be stagnant. I want to be out there. I love going into Atlanta Tech Village and being with the young entrepreneurs. They call me at Atlanta Tech Village, they call me the ATV OG because
So Jane, let me ask you, when you walked into Atlanta Tech Village the first time, what was that like?
It was a lot intimidating because I thought, here are these brilliant young people that are building startups. And so many of those startups are now unicorns. They're, it's great. I know, I met early at Atlanta Tech Village, the CEO and founder of Calendly, which is huge now. Yeah.
Which we all use. I've got a couple of
yes. And so I met Tope back then and, great, just learning their stories because all of them have some pretty amazing journeys.
Did you feel, was it intimidating? Were you nervous? I know when I walk in someplace, I'm always like, do they know how old I am?
I did.
Right?
I did. I felt.
So how did you counteract that? What did you do? What did you do?
One of the first things, there were two young ladies that it was very small. I went January of 13 and it was very small at that time and not renovated to the facility it is today. But there were two young ladies that so embraced me and made me feel so comfortable and started, introducing me to other people. And we'd sit down every Friday. We'd have a startup chow down that they provided. So you sit there and you network. And if you have a problem, if I had a technology problem that I didn't know how to solve, one of my friends who sat near me, I'd say, Brian, how do you do this? And he says, well, let me help you with it. So there was great connection, networking. I loved it. And I still do.
So you actually leads into one of my questions. I was going to ask you, with a small team like you have at FitFix Now, that's a lot of virtual people, how I was going to ask how you build community. It sounds like you found it with other entrepreneurs at Atlanta Tech Village.
Exactly. And I love giving back. So one thing that I do at Atlanta Tech Village, I used to pre-COVID teach a boot camp class. And the young entrepreneurs would come in and I would kick their butt in class.
Right? I just want everyone to get that visual. If you're listening and you cannot see that Jane is gorgeous and kind and refined, and she's got her glasses and she sounds so sweet, but she is an ass-kicking major entrepreneur. So for all of you out there that think you can tell what genius looks like by how somebody walks in the door, you need to grow up. Maybe you'll get where Jane is.
Well, thank you. That's a very nice comment. And one of the comments of one of my favorite members of class, a young guy, late 20s, he would tell new people that came into the class, she looks nice, but she'll kick your butt. And so I love that. I loved it. nowadays I teach a stretch and relax class because that's their biggest need now is we don't take enough rest and restoration time. So I lead them through deep breathing. I get them into gentle stretching. It's a 30-minute lunch time stretch where they can just come and hopefully get rid of some of the stress they've had that morning and prepare them for the afternoon.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So Jane, I want to think about your leadership style. Sounds like you've always been in charge of something. It had to have changed from when you owned your dance studio to when you were teaching to where you are now with a technology company that's growing pretty dang big. What would you say, like, if you were to describe your leadership in 3 words? Give me, like, you can have 5 actually. You can, or 6. You can double dip. How would you describe your leadership style? What makes working for you and with you?
I think if I were to boil it down, that as a leader, you need to be fair, you need to be friendly, but you also need to be firm. So if you hit those parameters, that you're fair and you listen to people who are under you. If you're friendly in the way you communicate, even if it's a difficult discussion that you're having, then that's going to go over better. And you do need to be firm. You need to have boundaries in place.
So it sounds like those are your 3 tips.
Pretty much.
For somebody
Pretty much.
To lead. Okay. So if we're thinking, I have so many questions.
That's great.
But always questions for Jane. It is always fun with Jane. So Jane, if somebody's sitting out there and they want and have an idea, they don't know how to get started, what are the first 3 things that they need to do?
First, I would ask as many people as you trust to give you feedback on the idea. You know, this is what I'm thinking. What's your opinion? I had tons of people come to me saying, I have this great idea and I think I need to do this. And I'm like, do you want to work, maybe 60 hours a week? Well, no, but it's a great idea. I know it's a great idea, but you've got to be willing to put in the work. So, run it by people you trust that will give you good feedback, advice, comments. That would be the first. Next, I would say, because this is one thing I struggled with, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Ooh, I love that. I say all the time, done is better than perfect, and perfect is boring. Perfect
and it's okay to be good enough that you don't have to be perfect. So that would be...
Can you say that again, Jane? I might need to hear that from you.
Yeah, it's okay to be good enough. You don't have to be perfect. And then I think finally, find a way to enjoy the ride. If it's drudgery, you're not going to be successful. You're going to regret every hour you put into it, but enjoy the ride. And if you can help people along the way, that makes it even better.
I absolutely freaking love that. So let me ask you, I want to flip back to technology. I still giggle thinking about you walking in to Atlanta Tech Village and everybody just looking and saying, who is she and why is she here? I feel like with the advent of AI, machine learning, all of these incredibly advanced technologies, those of us who were used to playing around with some of the other things, like we're now going to be just blown away by what AI and machine learning can do. So like in your mind, what are the top 3 changes that you see happening in the online education industry because of the advent of technology?
I think for the teacher, whoever they are, it's going to make content easier. It's got, like, I use AI now to help with writing learning objectives for a course, because for whenever we get a course approved, we turn it into an agency and we have to have learning objectives that by the end of this course, the student should be able to do X, Y, Z. And in education, we wanted to use Bloom's taxonomy for the verbs to do that. I can use an AI platform and within seconds get complete learning objectives by throwing in my outline. I think it's going to make the process quicker. It's going to make it easier. But there's a caveat here. You still need to edit. You can't just, I'm talking more written, not the video, because there's video coming out now. But you still need to edit. It's not perfect. It is not. And I do, one of the platforms I use will give me sources that they pulled the information from. I will go and double check a lot of those sources.
So I think about, and I'm processing all the different tips that you've shared. And I want to go back to your talk about feedback, getting feedback. So I've always said that, opinions are like assholes. And if you ask the wrong person, then they may be too. And so, there's a lot of opinions out there and not all of them are good. So I like the fact that you're sharing, like, ask for feedback, but how do you, like, what are your tips? I hate to keep using tips, but what are your tips for assessing and sorting quality feedback?
My tips would mostly include go to someone you trust. And it doesn't mean that they're right, but go to someone that you trust, that has a track record with you. And get as much as you can. And when you've had several people say the same thing to you, I think that's a good green light to say, okay, you've had 10 people say this and only 2 say this. So let's go on the wisdom of others. And I want to go to people who maybe have been there or been in a similar situation that can give me their experience.
I love it. So what about the naysayers out there? You said you got feedback. I cannot believe, even as wonderful as you are, that every single person you talked to when you said, hey, I know I've had these amazing 2 careers, but I think I'm going to start a technology company, that everybody was like, Team Jane, Team Jane, Team Jane. So what did you do? How do you like sort of dissolve the naysayers? How do you respond to that?
One thing I've had to do, because I did have some naysayers, and most of the naysayers that I had were very risk averse people that, like the safe route. They want the paycheck. They want the perks that a company will give them. They didn't understand what it was like to be an entrepreneur and want to get out there and create something from nothing.
Oh, so good. So good. I think that is one of the joys of it. I've had lots of different companies in all different industries, and every single time it's the looking back and realizing that there wasn't anything there and now there is. And it's something that we can take with us, that actually we don't even have to take with us, that the world will still be impacted by long after we're gone. Long after we're gone. So I know our time is getting to a close, but I would love for you to share with me, what's your take on impact?
On impact?
On impact. Like, tell me, everything you've done has been to make a difference. So we could call it legacy.
Yeah.
Talk to me about impact and legacy for the woman who will never quit till she's 6 feet under.
Yes.
What does that look like for you? What is impact and legacy for you?
What impact and legacy for me is to, first of all, to live a long, high quality of life. I love, I've been studying the blue zones for years about the people who live to a high quality of life into their 90s and 100s. And now Dr. Peter Attia has his book called Outlive that is fabulous, but it's all about longevity. So I want to live a long, healthy life. So when I'm gone, that my legacy lives on in that I wanted to do meaningful work. I wanted to help people. I wanted to help them make their lives as healthy as possible so that they can live a long, healthy life. And, one of my favorite fitness gurus, Dr. Kenneth Cooper, will say things like, you want to live a long, healthy life and die quickly. You don't want to die slowly. And so many of my peers are on that slow progression, and physical wellness is such an important part. It's all important: the spiritual, the physical, the emotional, the social. But a lot of us stop moving as we get older. So to impart and we do a lot of work with baby boomers, but you've got to be on that path of living a long, healthy life and dying quickly.
I love it. I mean, I want to go big in a very cool way. Like, let the tiger eat me, let the shark get me. Let me get squished by a falling truck. Let me get hit by a crane. But, I want it to be big and I want it to be cool.
And you have that high quality of life until it happens.
Right. So let's talk about that, because here's the deal. I want it to be big, I want it to be cool, but I don't want it to be anytime soon.
Right. And you're a lot younger than me.
I don't know about that, but I'll take it. Good life, having fun has so much to do with how we stay healthy and happy. But so as a baby boomer to millennials and Gen Zs and X's and alphas out there, what are the top 3 things that anybody can start doing right now to help them have fun and live longer?
The top 3 things. First is just move. Something is better than nothing. So, especially younger generations are, the old texting, the rounded back, move, stretch. The next thing is have as much good social connection as you can. You need a community. You need a tribe. You need someone that if you're going through a crisis, you can call them, because that's just such an important part of life. And studies now are showing how that social isolation and loneliness will shorten your life. Then finally, I would just say be true to yourself. If you're not an entrepreneur, that's okay. If you are one, that's okay too. But live your life and don't live up to other people's expectations of you.
I love it. And I'm laughing because you're like, not everyone has to be an entrepreneur, and that's all right. I'm like, of course it's all right. We need people to buy our shit. If everybody's an entrepreneur, everybody's going to be doing their own things, and who's going to buy our stuff? Who's going to buy it? So we need that. We need to be able to hire people, and we need people to buy our shit. If we don't have that, then, being an entrepreneur becomes so common. It would just be the norm, and who wants to be normal? So Jane, we could do this all day. And I'm so thankful that you are part of my circle. And I know that my time with you